I'm 42 this year, and I feel more affected by my environment as I'm aging. Even 10 years ago, while I was aware of my surroundings, I could pretty much sleep through any noise. And of course, looking back, I did appreciate it, but today I kind of relish that I could sleep through more noise than what I can do today. I actually remember one time camping with an ex-girlfriend, and during the night I heard some, how can we say, creating friction sounds. And in the morning, somebody approached me and said, "Did you hear those two people last night?" And I said, "You bet I did." But this person misunderstood. Of course, why not? Why wouldn't they? But basically they had to step in because somebody was arguing. There was another couple who were arguing, and I just slept through that noise. But the subtle, sexy sounds of creating friction, I definitely heard, and I woke up and I listened. But today, because
my legs are grey, my ears are gnarled, my eyes are old and bent,
I follow nearly all those tips that I shared with you in part 1 in order to help me sleep. Pretty much all of what was said in part 1 required routine and discipline for it to work. And there has been a slight undertone during these episodes where I'm trying to say that maybe the magic solution isn't something that you buy, it's actually something more innate. But having said all that, it's disheartening for me to know that I'm doing all these things that I've tried, especially, and I still am trying and doing, in episode 1, and I still have sleep problems. But mostly part 1 has talked about environmental, and part 2 talked about the sort of chemical factors that could be influencing my sleep. We haven't actually touched on any of the mental issues. Now, before I share what has been the largest improvement to my sleep, I do want to mention 2 of the things that I practice, but with a little tweak just to help me. And one of them is actually helping me on the mental side of things. So for example, I want to be in bed by 10 o'clock. Anything between 9:30 and 10 is going to give me a buffer, so that if I fall asleep in that time, let's say it takes me 15 minutes, then I've still got to sleep before 10 o'clock. And then between 10 and 6, I got a nice solid 8 hours. If I go to bed at 10 and it takes me 15 minutes to sleep, then I didn't get 8 hours, did I? So it's important to give yourself a bit of a buffer time between your living day and your nighttime day. Think of it as your own personal twilight. And sure, watching this, you might be thinking, well, just sleep in for longer. Yes, a normal person probably could do that, but I'm not normal. I'm better than normal. I'm abnormal. So I usually can't sleep past 6. My brain just says, no, you're up, that's it. Forget it, you've lost it. And the other thing I do when it comes to workouts is that I make sure that I do, especially cardio, everything before 12 p.m. That's because when you do exercise, you're generating or you're elevating your cortisol levels, something that we discussed in episode 2, and you want those cortisol levels to be low when it's bedtime. So if you're going to go and get some exercise late in the evening, and some people say, oh, do it to tire yourself out, it might work, but ultimately your cortisol levels are higher, and so is your body temperature, and those two things have to go back down before you can get an actual good night's sleep. No lie, I wear these when I sleep, and if you've noticed, yes, these are the ones that you wear on a construction site when someone's got a pneumatic drill and you don't want your eardrums to be burst wide open. So these knock down the decibels. So that drilling you just heard, I couldn't hear it. For a second, it was out of my life. They do hurt my ears a little bit, but I think they're well worth it, especially when upstairs sometimes drops something or they close the door too loudly, and it will kick me back into a wakefulness that I don't want to be in. And sometimes, I swear, I could nod off, hear a door sound, wake up, and I'll stay awake for another 30 minutes. This has eliminated any external factors past my curtains. I love these. And to get a pair of these, I just went to one of those shops that sell high-vis jackets and construction boots, you know, a workman's construction builder yard shop thing. I don't know the name, sorry. And the fact that I went there doesn't help because it's in Chinese, so I don't know the English name. But these have been probably one of the best purchases. Not the magic solution, but it's been a great sleep aid for me. Now think of everything that I've said as a chocolate cake, a mixture of all these great ingredients. We've covered a wide range of possibilities to control the sleep disruption. Now, for the cherry on top of that chocolate cake. And it took me a while to actually realize this. And I was in part doing it with, or trying to do it with, the CBD oils, which was basically trying to numb my thoughts. I have a strong ability to override my sense of tiredness at any time just by thinking about things. And the cherry that I've been indulging on for the past few months, I reckon I've had about a 90% success rate, and then there's this 10% that I know why it didn't work, and then I can actually mitigate that on top of it. But saying that, even that 10%, the method still allowed me to get to sleep far quicker than without it. And we're talking, say, 30 minutes max on a bad day inside that 10% versus 2 hours on a normal day when I'm trying to go to sleep. So think about it, I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock in the evening and I'm still awake at midnight. And then it becomes stressful. And then the next day it compounds. That's what a mental problem does. So this trick, tip, whatever it is, that for me is a surefire win in order to get to sleep, comes in two parts. First, I keep my eyes open. The second part is to count in multiples of a number while my eyes are open. And that's because if you close your eyes, you can actually create distracting visuals, which is what you don't want to do. So if you open your eyes, your brain is receiving information that you can't really do much about, and it's harder for you to start sort of dreaming up other scenarios that are going to prolong your wakefulness. I was going to try and say restfulness, wakefulness. You're sort of occupying the visual senses. You're not overstimulating them. You're not creating like a holodeck inside your mind. But also, when you're counting in multiples of any number that you want, as long as you count consistently and focus on that, you're also convincing your brain to focus on this very boring task. And then, but come back, we're not there just yet. As a side note, you don't have to think about the numbers. You can actually voice them out. It's actually better if you voice them out because it allows for more concentration in that particular task. 7, 14, 21. The first time I did it, I reached around 300 and I was just out. When I woke up in the morning, I was so happy because I knew I fell asleep almost instantly and there was nothing distracting me that was keeping me awake. Importantly for you, the number isn't a high score. This isn't Mario World 1, level 1, and you've got to reach the highest number possible. You can actually make mistakes, you can actually miscount, and then just go back to the first digit that you want to count at again, and just keep doing it. It's the task itself rather than the score that you're trying to achieve. You won't remember anyway, so it's not like you can write it down and get a personal best. And let me remind you of the joke at the beginning of this video, because every joke is half true. When I had COVID, it actually changed what I ate before bedtime. Usually I have some yogurt with some fruit, some honey, some MCT oil, something like that, to bide my time while I sleep for the 8 hours. And I didn't do that. And I also stopped taking 2 sleep aids. I just forgot. But I kept the counting method. And I've now realized I don't need those 2 sleep aids. And we're talking 2 different types of pills just to help me sleep, or air quotes, relax, when they don't work at all. The numbering system that I've got does. Now you might be here thinking, hang on, he's just counting sheep. Well, yes, that is a method. If you go onto Wikipedia, it actually states that counting sheep is a solution for insomnia, but supposedly, this is what Wikipedia says, supposedly nobody does this anymore. I learned this from a sleep expert. I think it was on a podcast or a YouTube health video, but somebody mentioned it. And so I think, with no inside experience on any of this, I think that, okay, we're not counting sheep, but the thing is still the same, but we're just counting with something else to trick our brain into doing something so banal, you're falling asleep instead of something exciting. At the moment, I'm writing a science fiction story. I stay up late thinking, I did stay up late at night thinking about scenarios and thinking, oh, I should write that down, because that is another thing that you can do to help you sleep, which is if you've got any errant thoughts, write them down, put a notebook beside your bed, and it will chill you out. That does work, but I have so many thoughts, not just about writing stories, just about interactions during the day. Gone. Say no more on this. They're all gone. I don't have to worry about it. But there must be people out there who are using this method, because otherwise the sleep experts wouldn't have used it as a sort of suggested it as a tip in the first place anyway. I think the big difference is that a method like this doesn't have any marketing attached to it because it's a non-profit solution. I'm not going to make any money from this, well, unless you click a YouTube advert. But I have nothing to sell, and you have nothing to buy. You've just got this information for nothing, and yet it's so much easier to walk into your local chemist shop. But they will sell you things, they will market things to you and say, right, this is the solution for sleep. But actually, you might not need that. Just start counting. It's that simple. That's my number one tip on top of this big chocolate cake of ideas that I've presented to you across 3 episodes. But also, alongside that, you're creating a routine to sort of create a buttress against what is the modern world interfering with your sleep, as we talked about with the lights, the noises outside, etc., etc. I do hope you found these sleep videos interesting, especially the conclusion, and if there is interest, I will make more, because it will never stop as a point of interest for me, because I want to get better and better. I mean, it seems to be almost perfect at the moment, but who knows what will happen when I'm 52. The brain is always changing. The brain always needs a different level of stimulation in order to get where we need to go in life. Importantly, just remember, you might not need to buy anything for the problem that you may have. You just need to take a deep look at what you've got and what you're doing. That was the whole point of making this across 3 episodes. Okay? Thank you for watching.